On Monday, May 27, 2025, tension gripped the Los Angeles federal courthouse as Sean Diddy Combs faced charges of racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation for prostitution. Despite his confident appearance, a current of unease ran. Beneath the surface, presiding over the trial, Judge R.N. Subramanian kept a tight grip on the courtroom. That day, Brianna Bangolan, a longtime friend of Cassie Ventura, took the stand. She testified about Cassie's alleged abuse and control under Diddy, describing wild parties at his Miami mansion filled with celebrities and young women, many of whom seemed exploited. She detailed violent episodes, including one in March 2020, when Diddy allegedly took Cassie's passport to keep her from leaving. As Bangolan spoke, Diddy began nodding repeatedly at her. Then, at the jury, Judge Subramanian immediately stopped the proceedings, his voice rising. "Mr. Combs, I've made it very clear. No gestures, no expressions directed toward the jury," he warned. That further behavior would result in Diddy being removed from his own trial. Diddy's face drained of color as he sat back quietly. The moment triggered media uproar and legal commentary. Many experts labeled Diddy's behavior an attempt to influence or intimidate jurors. The judge did not dismiss the jury but warned that another disruption could cause a mistrial, requiring a full restart of the case. In the afternoon, Diddy stayed still and quiet. Bangolan continued her damaging testimony, describing Diddy's Star Island home as a glamorous front for darker truths. She recalled an incident in summer 2018 when Cassie was allegedly locked in a room for speaking with a male friend, and another in October 2019 when Diddy reportedly smashed her phone during a fight that left visible bruises. She said Diddy had Cassie followed by a private team and claimed in March 2020 he took her passport to trap her. Bangolan also suggested that other young women at Diddy's parties were either never seen again or came back visibly shaken. After court recessed, Diddy sat with his lawyer, E. Miller, in a private room. The tension was sharp. Diddy tore off his tie, anger flashing across his face. "You see that, Miller, that old man's trying to bring me down," he snapped, clenching a fist that nod meant nothing. "Why's he making it a whole thing?" Miller stayed composed, sipping water. "Sean, this is federal court. Any perceived contact with the jury is interference." "You nodded at two jurors. That's serious," Miller said quietly. He put the glass down. "The testimony from Bangolan. And Evans is stacking up your actions today. Didn't help. The jury could already be leaning against you." Diddy stood and began pacing. "So, what now? We can't let me go to jail over this." He stopped, suddenly staring at Miller, his expression hard. "What do we do next?" A desperate but determined glint flickered in Diddy's eyes, his voice low but urgent. "Is there a way, Miller? I mean, can someone help us turn this around?" Miller inhaled slowly, as if weighing the consequences. He'd known this question was coming. "See, I have a contact," he said carefully. "Someone who handles situations like this. They know how to reach jurors without leaving a trail. It's dangerous, incredibly so. But if you believe the jury's already turned against you, it might be the only way." Diddy didn't hesitate his expression. "Hard. Money's no object," he said firmly. "Do whatever it takes. How much? Just name it. I need those jurors on my side. I can't lose this." Oswe Miller nodded slowly, eyes narrowing. "I'll make the call, but you have to understand. Once we do this, there's no going back. If this gets out, we're both finished. Felony charges, this isn't just a fine or bad press, it's prison." Diddy ordered, his tone final. His gaze held a flicker of hope in the encroaching storm. "Make sure they understand. This is an opportunity for them too." In the days that followed, Miller vanished from court, absent from proceedings on May 28th and 29th, citing personal matters, while a junior associate took over in truth. Miller was on a covert errand, slipping into the city's murky corners where silence had a price and influence was currency. On the night of May 29th, beneath heavy darkness at an undisclosed spot on the city's outskirts, Miller met two jurors, the same ones Diddy had nodded toward days earlier. One was Brenda, a silver-haired woman with tired eyes. The other was Mark Younger, glasses twitchy nervous. Their arrival had been arranged through a faceless middleman who specialized in these kinds of exchanges. There were no phones, no paper trails, just conversation measured and precise. Miller laid out the narrative. Diddy's pressure, the media frenzy, the impact on his life. He spoke of Diddy's philanthropy, the scholarships. The youth centers his voice. Persuasive calm, then came the shift in tone. "There's also a gesture of gratitude for your patience," Miller said smoothly. "For keeping open minds during all this, a token of appreciation for your time and understanding." He placed a thick envelope on the table. No one touched it at first. Brenda frowned. "Is this jury tampering?" she whispered to Mark, eyes flicking back and forth. Mark looked unsure but intrigued. Miller gave a reassuring smile. "No, this is recognition compensation for what you've endured. And there's more later after the trial." If things go smoothly, Brenda hesitated, her principles visibly clashing with the weight of what she was hearing. But her silence became an answer. Mark reached for the envelope, his hand trembling. Brenda gave a slight nod, reluctant but resigned. On the morning of May the 30th, Miller returned to court. His face tired but resolved. During a recess, he moved close to Diddy, leaned in, and whispered, "It's done. They'll listen. Just stay quiet now. No more outbursts. No more eyes on us." Diddy allowed himself the smallest of smirks, relief creeping across his face. The pieces were falling into place. Money still worked, and the game felt winnable again. But fate had other plans. On May 31st, prosecutor Aina Kararma presented surveillance footage from Diddy's mansion, a standard part of the trial. Or so it seemed. Midway through a clip where Diddy was seen yelling at a young woman, the court was interrupted by breaking evidence. Beknownst to Miller, or Diddy, a former bodyguard loyal to Cassie and no longer under non-disclosure, had provided a secret encrypted audio file to authorities. The recording captured fragments of Miller's May 29th conversation, words like agreement, jurors, payment, faint but decipherable judge. Subramanian was informed of the audio on the afternoon of June 1st, and his expression darkened. A private emergency hearing was set for the next morning. June 2nd, in that sealed courtroom, the audio was played, portions faint but damning enough. Forensic technician confirmed parts of the voice belonged to Miller. The bodyguard testified, detailing how the conversation was intercepted from a burner device discarded too carelessly. As the sound filled the room, Miller's face drained to ash. Diddy tried to remain composed, but his hands gripped the edge of the table, knuckles white, his eyes flicking between the judge and the door as if searching for a way out that didn't exist. "Judge," Subramanian leaned forward, his voice a quiet storm. "This court may now be dealing with attempted jury tampering and obstruction of justice. Federal offenses far more serious than what's already on trial." The courtroom fell silent, but the storm had already begun. "Mr. Miller," Judge Subramanian said, his voice cold as steel, "this evidence, though partial, strongly suggests an attempt to tamper with the jury. That is contempt of court. More than that, it is an attack on the very foundation of our justice system." He turned to Diddy, who sat frozen. "Mr. Combs, your conduct these past days, from the nodding incident to what now appears to be a coordinated bribery attempt, is unacceptable. This court will not tolerate any manipulation of the jury process. I hereby declare a mistrial." The room went silent. No gasps, no whispers. Just stunned, suffocating silence. Mr. Miller tried to stammer out an objection, but the judge didn't acknowledge him. "Mistrial?" Diddy whispered, the word barely escaping his lips. "No. No way." Judge Subramanian's voice rang out, again, sharper now, with righteous authority. "Further, I order that new charges be filed immediately against Mr. Combs and all parties involved." These include obstruction of justice and attempted jury bribery. A new trial will be scheduled and a completely fresh jury selected. The announcement ripped through the media and legal world like a bomb. Within minutes, news networks interrupted broadcasts. Diddy mistrial. Jury bribery suspected. Sean Combs hit with new charges. The fall of an empire. Public outrage exploded. Diddy's blatant disregard for the legal process was condemned from every corner. Legal analysts, former fans, even once loyal celebrities. The justice system, already under scrutiny, had just been handed a high-profile stress test. The two compromised jurors, Brenda and Mark, were quietly removed from the trial and placed under investigation. Though no concrete proof of cash exchange was found, their conduct disqualified them. Whatever money or promises they'd received, they now lived in the shadows of scandal, their reputations shredded, their futures uncertain. Mr. Miller's law license was suspended. He faced a separate criminal probe. His once solid career had crumbled into disgrace overnight. As for Diddy, he had transformed from music mogul to cautionary tale. Gone was the swagger, the smirk, the aura of invincibility. In its place was a broken figure, a man visibly hollowed by his own actions. The new trial began on July 15, 2025. The atmosphere inside the federal courthouse was somber, charged with a sense of finality. This time, the vetting process for jurors was merciless. Backgrounds were scrutinized, financials double-checked, even social media histories combed for bias or susceptibility. Judge Subramanian ordered round-the-clock federal security. Cameras, guards, and strict courtroom conduct rules kept the trial airtight. Diddy sat quietly at the defense table. His suit hung loosely on his thinner frame. His face was gaunt, eyes sunken. He barely resembled the defiant man from weeks prior. The scandal had not only destroyed his image, it had broken his spirit. Once surrounded by Hollywood elites, he now faced the courtroom alone. Brand partnerships vanished. Contracts were shredded. Public figures who once sang his praises now refused to utter his name. What remained was a shell of a man watching his empire turn to dust. Prosecutor Anna Chararma returned to the stand sharper than ever. She revisited damning testimony from Brianna Bangolan and Liam Evans. But this time she had more, painstakingly gathered evidence from the post-mistrial investigation, including encrypted communications, suspicious money movements, and timeline. Reconstructions that painted a clear portrait of desperation and deceit. Mr. Combs didn't just try to escape justice, she told the jury. He tried to buy it. This new jury wasn't like the last. They listened intently, took notes, avoided even glancing at Diddy. Their focus was razor-sharp. No reactions, no errors. They'd seen the consequences of the previous trial's collapse, and none of them intended to be part of another disaster. As the final week approached and the lawyers delivered closing arguments, Diddy didn't even lift his head to meet the jury's eyes. The fire was gone, the illusion shattered. On July 25, 2025, the jury entered deliberations. The world held its breath. Outside, media trucks circled the courthouse like vultures. Inside, Diddy sat in silence, staring at the floor. His hands trembled slightly. Whatever the outcome, he already knew. His fall was complete. His empire razed, his legacy rewritten. Not as a legend, but as a warning. He hadn't been brought down by lies. He had been undone by his own choices.